When it comes to narcissistic parents, they do not have the ability to love their children because, simply put, they really do not have access to love. So oftentimes on the channel, you will see me use the Hawkins scale or the map of consciousness by Dr. David R. Hawkins to kind of give you a better frame of reference to what this actually looks like. So you'll hear me state often that pathological narcissists are people that are rooted in their shame and they're unable to move past their pride. So when we're looking at the Hawkins scale or the map of consciousness, understand that we are all here to expand. We're all here to reach what you may call enlightenment or self-actualization if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So again, we're here to grow and we have to meet the lower needs before we get to the higher needs. All right, so it's kind of like climbing a ladder. And this is also similar to the chakra system where you kind of have to work on your lower chakras, get those balanced to move up, all right, to eventually get your crown chakra activated and your third eye open and so on. So the Hawkins scale is similar because at our core, we are consciousness, so we are spirit at our core, and we are energy, and we are here to expand. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we are spirit, or if you want to say source energy, life force, prana, chi, the observer, the watcher, etc., governing a physical body with access to tools or faculties, namely our mind power, our willpower, and our emotions. So as we grow, we expand, and this is happening, of course, over time. So healing is a journey, and so is your spiritual evolution. So it's a process. So we should be growing and working on being more enlightened, on being more spiritually aware. When it comes to pathological narcissism, we're talking about a type of arrested development. And it is an arrested development at the psycho-spiritual level. So the psyche would be a similar equivalent to what you would call the personality, or what you may hear me refer to as the soul. It is made up of your mind power, your willpower, and your emotions. So when clinicians say that narcissism, when someone is deep into this spectrum, when it is maladaptive, when it is pathological, right? It is narcissistic personality disorder. And when you take a look in the DSM, and the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Illnesses, you will see where for the NPD diagnostic itself, if someone were to be diagnosed with this by a clinician, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, etc., they would have to have 5 or more of the 9 characteristics that you see listed. However, anyone that you encounter with 1 or even 2 of those characteristics is going to be a highly disordered individual, because you're dealing with people that are grandiose. So again, they're based in their ego because they disconnected from their spirit. So they're grandiose and superior, so they believe that they are better than you. They require excessive amounts of attention and admiration because, again, you have to feed the ego. And finally, their empathy impaired. So they do not have access to empathy to give to you. And they don't. They're based in shame and they cannot move past their pride. Empathy is linked to love and kindness and so on. And those emotions or those vibrations, that energy spectrum is in the 500s. And again, pathological narcissists are rooted in their shame and they cannot move past their pride. So they're stuck at the bottom end of the scale. So what means then is that these individuals have not ascended. They're stuck in the 3rd dimension. So they're based in shame, which means that every day they wake up, they're in shame. And then at best, they get to the level of pride, and pride cometh before the fall. So they fall right back down to shame, because it is a cycle. It is a shame-pride cycle. The narcissistic abuse cycle starts off with shame. It is a shame-based disorder. And understand that when we're talking about shame here, we're talking about pathologically low self-esteem. So understand that their behavior has nothing to do with you. They really are running from this shame and they will do anything. And this include, for example, narcissistic parents belittling their children. So understand that in the third dimension, this is victim abuser consciousness. So somebody has to be up and somebody has to be down. This is because depending on the level of consciousness that we operate at, this is also linked to our emotional processing and our mental processing. For example, when you're in a state of anger, well, you think angry thoughts, right? Anger, the emotion, is also linked to thoughts in the mind because the mind generates thoughts. You use your mind to generate ideas. And understand that the mind is not the brain. The brain is a physical organ that is a part of the body. The mind is not physical. You cannot touch the mind. Your mind is a tool that you use to make decisions. You use your mind to generate ideas and so on. So when you're in a state of anger, you think angry thoughts. When you're in a state of love, then you think loving thoughts. So pathological narcissists are rooted in their shame and they cannot move past their pride. So that really is all that she wrote. So if you think about any other negative emotions, then they're going to be between shame and pride. That is where they would fall on the Hawkins scale, because the further up you go, the better you feel, because the more positive you are, the more you are expanding. So what you're looking at really is someone that is stuck in a contracted state. They're very tense, very anxious, filled with rage, filled with anger, because that is what they have access to. They do not have access to empathy. Again, empathy is up there in the 500s, and pathological narcissism as an energy spectrum exists below the line of courage. That is below the line of 200. So they do not have access to courage, and this makes them then stuck in a state of cowardice. So you really are dealing with adult bullies. Bullies are abusers. Pathological narcissists exist in victim abuser consciousness. So if you're dealing with a narcissist that is a parent, then they're going to be abusive. Again, a pathological narcissist with the pattern behavior of narcissism. Again, they're grandiose, excessive need for attention. They're empathy impaired, so they really do not care too much about anybody else but them and their self-image. And also they're pathological liars. Those are the four main characteristics that you can use to identify a pathological narcissist, because it is patterned behavior. It's not just, oh, one day they had a bad day and they act like that. This is the pattern behavior because it is a pathology. And pathology is the study of disease. It is patterned, dysfunctional, or disordered behavior. It is a psychopathology.